Good morning and welcome to Rising. We have a great show for you today. It is a cold and dark and dreary morning in the nation's capital, Niall, and the first of many to come, unfortunately, but here we are.
Let's look on the bright. That was a very bleak introduction, Robby.
Yes, it was.
Not normally your terrific Tuesday bigging us all up. But
well, it will be your challenge, Niall, to improve my mood throughout the show. So choose your words carefully, my friend.
Not something that the gloomy Irish are typically genetically very well suited to.
You know, I'm listening. I'm reading a book right now, The Terror, which is a historical fiction about the doomed Terror and Erebus expeditions to find the Northwest Passage in the 1840s. And so the sailors, many of them are British and Irishmen. The main character, Crozier, is an Irishman. And I'm listening to the audiobook.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to an impression of one of your countrymen every morning.
I hope it's vaguely proximate to reality, at least.
It's very good.
We shall see. Coming up on Rising, the Supreme Court has rejected a call to revisit its decision on same-sex marriage.
Plus, the Democrats are calling on Senator Chuck Schumer to step down as leader after 8 senators voted with Republicans to end the government shutdown.
And President Trump has pardoned Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, and others who allegedly tried to overturn the 2020 election results. But first, Robby, what is on your radar?
Well, Niall, Barstool founder Dave Portnoy appeared on CBS News over the weekend claiming that anti-Semitism is on the rise. The popular sports and politics commentator is Jewish and said the number of racist insults he receives on a daily basis has dramatically increased. Take a look.
I've seen in my own experience, just being Barstool, the difference between how much hate I get. I mean, occasionally you get, hey, or Jew or whatever. It's every day now. Like, there's a definitive shift in what's going on. So, yes, now I for me, being a Jewish person, like, you gotta step up. You're kind of someone people look up to in the Jewish community. You have to be like, all right, this is not normal, ha-ha, with the guys. People are coming in with real hate.
His comments follow a viral instance of anti-Semitism in which someone screamed F the Jews at Portnoy on the street in broad daylight. Let's watch.
Wait, Why come in the camera, buddy? Why? Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come on. Come on.
I shouldn't yell at those jokes, right? I should be putting handcuffs on what you said.
No, handcuffs. No, you can
That's
joke.
what you said.
To be clear, it's totally fine to hate Dave Portnoy, but F the Jews? Now, I'm highlighting that incident because it is notable, in my view. This was not an internet comment from some random faceless troll. We all receive unpleasant and occasionally vile feedback on social media from accounts that disparage people for all sorts of reasons, race, gender, sexuality, and so on. But usually the would-be insult hurlers are a bit more restrained in person, where they can be identified, named, and shamed and suffer adverse impacts, loss of job, etc. In fact, the person who screamed that was arrested. Now, in other words, I think we need to face a really uncomfortable fact. Anti-Semites increasingly feel empowered to express anti-Jewish animus in public. Their intolerance has been branded as edgy, cool, and contrarian, and ultimately acceptable, and that's a very, very bad thing. Now look, I realize it can be a bit grating to listen to rich and famous and powerful people like Dave Portnoy complain about how they're being treated. I, for one, think if you make a living as a commentator, you just have to deal with the fact that people are going to utter obscenities at you. It comes with the territory. Pundits, like myself, who obsess over how frequently they've been threatened or have often lost their sense of proportion of how entitled they seem. Furthermore, pundits who complain about, for instance, racist or misogynistic feedback are often merely objecting to the fact that their commentary has grown stale. It is no longer resonating with their audiences. So these complaints can also serve as an invitation for censorship, i.e., my critics are viciously attacking me, and therefore social media CEOs and/or Congress must silence them. And look, we all know how that turns out, so let's set all that aside. For all those reasons, I'm personally highly resistant to arguments that online hate represents anything particularly real or that a certain kind of animus or prejudice is increasing. On just the anti-Semitism front, we've been treated year after year to claims by Jewish advocacy groups like the Anti-Defamation League that the picture's always getting a little bit worse. These groups can be like the boy who cried wolf. The lesson of that story, though, is not that all wolf warnings are false. Indeed, there eventually is a wolf and it kills all the sheep. Similarly, I am deeply troubled by how much casual anti-Semitism I am encountering on both the right and left these days. And when I say anti-Semitism, I mean actual anti-Semitism. not criticism of Israel, not disagreement with U.S. support for the war in Gaza, not fervent objection to the policies of Benjamin Netanyahu. And it's true that people who criticize Israel, oppose war, and dislike Netanyahu have been smeared as anti-Semites by bad faith defenders of the status quo, of unlimited American aid to and support of Israel, no matter its policies. Unfortunately, we are well beyond that now. It's not just criticism of Israel, it's criticism of Jews. In fact, Jews are being held responsible for the policies of Israel, whether or not they support them. Nick Fuentes, a would-be thought leader of the young right, holds the Jewish people in contempt because he disagrees with Israel. He doesn't just hate Israel, he hates the Jews. He's gaining ground, which means that conservatives can no longer pretend that anti-Semitism is confined to the left. It is absolutely, definitively present on both ends of the political spectrum. Here was Senator Ted Cruz calling out anti-Semitism on his side recently. Take a look.
In the last 6 months, I have seen more anti-Semitism on the right than at any time in my lifetime. It is rising on the right, and it is dangerous. And if we look away, if we refuse to denounce it, if we are scared of it, it could destroy the Republican Party just like it has destroyed the Democrat Party. I think we have an obligation to stand up, to speak out. Many elected Republicans are terrified to say anything. And I think this is a moment where everyone decides, where do you stand? Are you willing to stand up and speak the truth? And it is going to matter in the coming years whether our party and even more fundamentally our country survives.
I agree with him. I've seen it too. Now, to be absolutely clear, no one is being called on to defend Israel or to defend Netanyahu or to defend American tax dollars being sent overseas. I definitively oppose that. Conservatives are being called, however, to reject prejudice against a race of people, the Jews. This is because collective punishment and race-based identitarianism are anathema to conservatism. Modern conservatism is an individualist philosophy that has its roots in classical liberalism, a philosophy that emphasizes equality of just that, individuals. Not race-based equality or group-based equality, but liberty based in the dignity of every individual. My intellectual hero, Ayn Rand, once said that the smallest minority on earth is the individual. Those who deny individual rights cannot claim to be defenders of minorities. Now, she was saying this to the left as an explanation of why progressive defenders of minorities should prefer individual rights rather than group identity-based understanding of rights. But that saying should apply to these new anti-Semites as well, these anti-Semites on the right. We must defend the equal rights of all people, Jews, blacks, women, and so on, all the groups of people that Fuentes hates, by the way, because they're all individuals, and individuals have rights. Not countries, not governments, not groups of people based on bloodline, but individuals. That is the ideology of the right, and that is why it is incumbent on true conservatives to purge the anti-Semites, the actual anti-Semites, not mere Israel critics, from our midst.
That's pretty good, Robby. I don't really disagree with any of that. I mean, I think you did draw a definite line, as we all have to, between criticism of Israel or criticism of particular Israeli politicians like Netanyahu and prejudice, of which anti-Semitism is obviously one form. And there does seem to be an open or a more open expression of anti-Semitism, particularly in the case of Fuentes. But generally, I mean, it's very rare for me to agree with Ted Cruz, but what he said in that clip, I would have no issue with. I do think that part of this mix is the way, unfortunately, defenders of Israel or defenders of Netanyahu have sought to paint any criticism as anti-Semitic just straight off the bat.
I absolutely agree with that.
And that's a big problem.
I absolutely agree with that. And I've seen that.
Yeah.
And I've called that out. And so I understand if you're coming at this from a totally neutral vantage point, being suspicious of these complaints of rising anti-Semitism because you are used to having just perfectly legitimate opposition to what Israel's doing, an opposition I share, being painted as anti-Semitism. I've seen that. I have borne the brunt of that. People have hurled that at me. So I get it. But this is very different. This goes well beyond that. It is a simple hatred of Jewish people and a blaming of all the Jewish people for what Israel's doing, even if they object to it. I know many Jews who object to the Netanyahu government.
No, absolutely. And there does also seem to have been a unfortunate resurgence of tropes that are plainly anti-Semitic, that essentially the Jews control everything. Right. The Jews are pulling the strings, all of that stuff. That I think is very toxic and very dangerous indeed. And we, whatever our political views or our views of Israel's conduct, you have to push back against that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Enough is enough.
Chuck Schumer is in hot water after 8 senators voted to end the government shutdown, 8 Democratic senators, that is. The growing calls within the party for leadership change coming up. We'll be right back.